Hey, everybody, welcome back to another fantastic edition of the His and Her Money Show, where we make it our business to help you take dominion over your money and your life. We hope that you are prepared for something great because guess what? Something great is about to happen for you inside of today's episode. We always warn you and encourage you to get some pen and paper or your notes app open because we create this platform to help you grow, and that's going to require you to take some action. And you're going to need to write down all the nuggets that are going to be dropped on today's episode. Trust me when I tell you. And as always, man, share this. Be a good friend, be a good family member. Text us out, put it on social media. No matter what platform you're on, our handle is at His and Her Money. Tag us and let us know that you're rocking with us so we can show you some love right back. Today's episode's guest is none other than George Pitts, aka Mr. Monetize Everything. And we're gonna have to talk about that. But a lot of you all have some ideas, and you're like, man, I should maybe make a course and I could help people and I can make some money. But you don't know how, you don't know if you have what it takes, you don't know where to get started. Well, by the end of this episode, you're gonna know, and we're gonna help you move in the right direction around creating a course, creating a platform for yourself where you can take what you know and help somebody else who's trying to grow in that area. So I'm not going to belabor this any longer. Let's get our special guest on so we can hear all of his great advice and wisdom on the matter. Hey, George, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hey, my man, it's so good to be here today, man. Thanks for having me. Really excited.
We're glad to have you here because, man, you have quite a story and you also have quite the ability to help people who are trying to create some additional revenue streams for themselves. You've been doing it for a number of years and you've helped a number of people. So we are excited to have you pulling up a chair at the His and Her Money Show. But some people are being introduced to you for the very first time right here and right now. So can you introduce yourself to them and let them know what you are all about?
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, again, thank you all so much for inviting me to the His or Her Money Show. I'm definitely a fan. For everyone out there who doesn't know who I am, my name is George Pitts. I'm an online business coach and strategist. What I do is I work with coaches, content creators, and even 9 to 5 professionals, teaching them how to turn their knowledge into profits with digital products and services. I take a little bit different approach. We focus on teaching you how to scale yourself, teaching you how to sell it, teaching you how to price it, and building the systems that you need so you can spend less time working on the or in the business and more time working on the business. So just really excited, man, to be here. Love, just showing people how to take what they know and impact more people to teach them how they can actually go out and implement some of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis.
Man, so I want to talk about this moniker of yours, Mr. Monetize Everything. Talk to us about where that came from, and for us that are listening to you, what does that mean for us?
So it started whenever I kind of started on social media. I was teaching people all these different ways to monetize. So at the time, I had a 9 to 5. I was working in corporate, and I was teaching people about e-commerce, drop shipping, and taking the money that they make from that and getting into dividend stocks and just building like your own, what I like to call your own economy. And so as my brain grew and I started learning different things and applying that to my business, when people would introduce me, they'd say, hey, this is George Pitts. I like to call him Mr. Monetize Everything. And it just kind of stuck. So I started using that as my tagline, monetize. And I was doing it a little bit before that. I was like, monetize everything, monetize your knowledge, monetize your skills, monetize your finances. Because I believe when you invest into index funds and things like that, you're now monetizing your finances. So that moniker kind of became like my tagline, and then it just became what people, called me, so to speak. So, yeah, man, that's kind of how it came about.
So, talk to us about the power of creating courses. I want to know how it has changed your life personally and the people that you taught. What have you seen them be able to do as a result of creating courses based on the knowledge and skill set that they have for themselves?
So the biggest thing for me is, we're in the information age right now. So everyone is learning different things that we didn't think was possible for people in certain communities like our community, or even just if you weren't in a certain profession like real estate investing, stock investing, and so many other things. And so for me, it changed my life because when I started, I looked at this as just more of some extra income. I had just been laid off. I was newlywed, and I had just made a promise to myself when I had got laid off about making sure that I didn't let anybody else control 100% of my income. So I learned some few different things, got into eBay, started doing eBay on the side, found this app called Periscope. People started saying, "Do you have a course? Do you teach people how to do this?" Because I was going live every day showing my shipments and what I was doing. And that's kind of how I got introduced to the course side. And once I got in it, I started sharing my testimony, how I fixed my credit and we were able to build our home, and so many things that I was doing. And people were starting to ask, "Do you have a course on this? Do you have that?" And I didn't know what any of that stuff was. And so once I learned it, I'm so glad I had the right mindset then. I didn't just say, "Well, let's jump on a Skype," because Zoom wasn't that popular then, and let me hash this out. My thing was, I want to learn how to do this the right way because a lot of people seem to ask, but I want to make sure I do it right. And so I hired a coach. They taught me what I need to do to put my systems and strategies in place. And then I just started, once I got a system in place, I developed my own methodology, and I was able to start monetizing all of my knowledge on when we fixed our credit, when we started investing, when we started doing that. And I built this whole entire academy, so to speak, which we call Wealthstream Academy. And it literally changed my life because I was able to exit corporate. I was able to impact a lot of people, teaching them how to fix their credit, teaching them how to invest in dividends and ETFs. And then it just became this thing where then people started asking, "Do you teach people, can you teach me how to take what I know and do it? Because you created a course on e-commerce, you created a course on stock, on credit." And people talk about the impact and the results that they got from it. How can I do that? And that was kind of my introduction into becoming known as this person that helps people do that, because I was able to do it successfully with my own knowledge. And we've helped, so far we've had over 3,000 people come through the Wealthstream Academy. Last year, we helped over 1,000 people launch courses, and 300 of them hit five figures within their first month. 90 days after launching and building out their following, many of them have done over six figures since then, and some have even left their 9 to 5 since last year. So I'm really, really excited about that, and really proud of the impact that we've been able to make on people's lives.
That's super dope, man. Now this started with you being laid off. You were on a trajectory to, like you said, you were like an engineer. You're in corporate America. You got these big ambitions about climbing the corporate ladder, and then your world got rocked. Can you share that story? And what do you think a takeaway should be for those that are about to hear your story?
December 14th of 2009, I walked into my job. I was stressed out because at the time I was working for a hospital, or excuse me, a hotel. And my hotels that I managed were the Hawaii hotel. So I worked 3 to 11 because that's 8 to 5 in Hawaii. And so what happened was I was struggling because at the time I was in IT and I was only working a contract. They brought me on to give me benefits, but they only had an area in payroll. I've never done payroll before. My background's in IT. So I went to my director and I sat down. I said, "Look, I know I haven't been wrote up. I know I haven't been reported, but I've had a couple of instances where I had to print manual checks and overnight them to the hotels because I didn't do X right or I didn't do Y right because I didn't have a lot of training. I want to be successful here. I want to be an asset to this department. I'm asking for some training to sit with someone so I can do my job better." She took her glasses off. She looked me right in the eye, just like this. And she said, "Mr. Pitts, that's exactly why I hired you. You're transparent, you're honest, and you want to do good. And that's very rare to find these days. I'm going to make sure we get you all the training you need." The next day, I came to work December 15th. I felt like it was my first day at work. I felt excited, just ready to go. At the end of the day, my supervisor comes over to me and says, "George, do you mind walking me out?" And I said, "Sure." It's the end of the day. It's kind of dark. So I said, "Sure." She's like, "Hey, can we stop by HR for a moment?" I said, "Yeah." So I'm standing there. I'm just kind of holding my watch and my coat, and I'm looking at my watch. And the HR director comes down and says, "Mr. Pitts, are you ready?" And she's kind of like signaling, like, "Are you ready? Like, come into my office." And I'm looking kind of confused, like, "I'm ready to go home. Like, what do you mean?" And she's like, she kind of like did this, like, "Are you coming?" So I kind of confusingly walked into her office, and she said, "So I understand that you guys have decided it's best to part ways." I said, "Excuse me?" She's like, "Well, such and such just came into the office, and she said that," and she's standing over in the corner with her arms crossed, kind of looking down like this, like she didn't even want to look at me. And the director, she's sitting behind the director, and I had this confused look on my face. I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And so she kind of looked at the paperwork. She looked back at her, and the lady just kind of closed her eyes like this. She's like, and you could tell she's like, "Oh, they just set me up." Like, not me, but her, to make her be the bad person. So she said, "Okay, Mr. Pitts, here's the deal. We live in Oklahoma, which is known as an at-will state. Do you know what that is?" And I said, "No, I don't." She's like, "An at-will state is where you can be terminated for anything as long as it doesn't apply to race, age, or religion, anything like that. We can say this was just a misunderstanding and you can come back to work tomorrow." And she said, "My director's name can just fire you can say they no longer need you. And this goes as a termination. Or you could take this as a resignation. I can give you an extra check for 2 weeks, and you'll be eligible for rehire for something else if something else comes open. I really hope you take the latter." And I'm sitting there shocked. I mean, we're like a year and I just married my wife. We just moved into this apartment. I just told her she could go back to school, because I made enough to cover our expenses, and everything's gone now. And we're living paycheck to paycheck. And I'll never forget, man, just leaving there feeling defeated. And I remember I had this long drive home, and I sat my wife down and I told her what happened. And the next morning, she was getting ready for work because she worked contract, as a nurse, or as a medical assistant. So we didn't have remote start. So I would go out to her car at 5:30 in the morning, sit in it, let it warm up while she's getting dressed. And I remember as she got in her car, she kissed me goodbye, and because she had picked up an extra shift to help. And I saw her car leave, and when I couldn't see her taillights anymore, I literally felt like my wife's going to work to take care of me, and I got really, really down on myself. And I just remember I heard the Lord's voice while I was laying in bed. It was like 5:45 in the morning. All of a sudden, it's 9 o'clock. It went from dark to light. I'm laying in bed, still with my jacket on, still with my flip flops and socks on from when I did it. And I just heard him say, "Get up and figure it out." And I remember I made a promise to myself. I said, "Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll never let someone control my income again. And I will fight to find something to make it to where I make my own income." And we went to the second room in our apartment. I got online and I started learning about the online world and literally just immersed myself into it. That was back in December 16th of 2009. So really, literally the next day, and it changed my life.
Part of your prayer to God was, if you get me out of this, I'll never let someone else control my income. Let's park there for a second. What do you want us to walk away from as we hear that thought, as we hear you recount that part of your prayer to God? What do you want the listener to glean from that statement?
The main thing that I want people to glean from that statement is we don't serve a W-2 God. And what I mean by that is we have a lot of faith when we're in the parking lot getting ready to interview, or we want to ask God to give us favor with the person that we're about to go interview with. But when it comes to taking a chance on ourselves, on the podcast, on the course, on the business, we have every reason why it won't work, but we never go to prayer once. But we can go for one job that 50 other people are interviewing for, and we feel that it can work, and we just ask the Lord for favor. And my thing, what I want people to take away from that is that if you ask, you shall receive. So don't feel like, if you feel like you're in a position to where, if I lose my income, this is it. What can you do to prevent yourself from doing that? And then you just ask for God to do it. Because the thing about it is that multiple streams of income is a thing now. It is no longer, a luxury; it's a necessity. But you can only work so many hours in a day. Meaning, yes, you can get a full time job, then you can go get a part time job. But then, when you're going to be a husband, a father, a mother, a son, whatever else that you can live a life of abundance. You can create other streams of income that could exceed or meet what you make in a full time income. Just don't put your faith into man, expecting them to take care of you the rest of your race through, that everything's going to be okay. Because as we know it, companies lay off every day. Even companies that hit their record numbers, they still lay off to make it look like they made even more money, so that their stock prices go up and things like that. And there's literally nothing you could do about it, and you're stuck and you're back to square one, literally in a matter of a conversation in HR, like what happened to me in 2009.
Man, that's good stuff. Now, for context, are you saying, I know the answer, but they might not. Are you saying that, man, we should just leave our job and go for it?
Absolutely not. I think that people should have wisdom with it, because when I got another job, even after I got into e-commerce and started making money from my courses, I worked that for the next 4 years, even at the height of the success of my business, because I wanted to make sure that income was going to be consistent. Most importantly, I wanted to make sure I had a good nest egg to cover me for at least a year or more. And I wanted to make sure that my expenses were enough to where if worst case scenario, I had to go back and I had to make the lower end of what my job makes, that my lifestyle and my expenses would be able to be covered. Once I was able to answer that, in addition to healthcare, making sure my retirement investments are still being made at the frequency it was at my other job, then it was time to make the plan on how much consistency do I need with this new income and what that number is in order to make that jump. So you want to have wisdom. You don't want to just jump the ship. I think by year 3, I was in a position, but I didn't leave until year 5. So you got to have wisdom with that. And there's nothing wrong with having a nest egg. And I tell everybody all the time, what's better than one source of income? Two. And so you can continue to do that until you feel it's time to move forward and you want more of your time back.
So it's a calculated risk. It's measured. It's conversation because you're married, and you talked about doing things like saving, investing, reducing expenses while simultaneously building up additional streams of income. So, what were the conversations like with your wife during this time as you all are strategizing, right? Because there's probably one spouse at a time listening to this. One spouse is listening, they may text it to their spouse so that they can listen to it. So for spouse A that's listening and they're like, "Oh, we got to do this." How would you encourage them to approach the conversation that will cause the paradigm shift, not just for themselves, but for their spouse?
So what I would say for me is both of you need to sit down and write down, what are your goals? Like what do you want? Because it can't be one-sided. My wife is not an entrepreneur, right? But she supports one. And she's a very good supporter of one. My wife's goal is always to be in the medical field and to the higher end of nursing. And so when we sat down, we went over what her goals were, what my goals were. And one of her biggest things is she wanted to go and complete nursing school, right? My biggest thing is I wanted to be in full-time entrepreneurship. So we looked at our expenses, we looked at what our costs are, and we said, okay, here's what our number needs to be to do that. What we had was that we had an opportunity to send my wife to nursing school for a 2-year program that's normally 4, and we found out what the cost was. So I said, okay, instead of just leaving my job now, let me go ahead and take care of this out of pocket so she could pursue her dream. And then when we get to the point to where she's about to graduate and there's at least a year's worth of expenses, I can pursue mine. We paid everything out of pocket a year ahead of time for hers, and she was able to get like some other like grants that she was awarded, and I was able to actually move that timeline up a year. And so I was able to go into it a year, but knowing that she was covered, our expenses were covered if I didn't make $1 for a whole 2 year, well, 18 months. But I knew at the end of like the next 8 months, she was going to be finished and her income could totally cover everything we had. And we wouldn't have to exhaust all of our savings. If I didn't make $1 between now and when she graduated, and most importantly, 18 months of running out of resources. So once we had that plan in place, I was able to comfortably do it without all the anxiety. We went and we quoted insurance to cover what we needed for what we see the doctors for, dentist appointments, all that stuff. We got a little one. So we made sure that everything that we needed to keep our lifestyle intact, to where we didn't have to, okay, wait a minute, we can't do this, we can't do that. We made sure that that was intact for a long period of time, even beyond the time that we would be coming into new income based on her graduation date. And that's what really changed everything.
So dope. So dope. Thank you for unpacking that for us. So let's talk about these here courses, man. Why is creating a course a good idea to produce an additional income stream?
So the one of the reasons, there's several. One is passive income, because when you create a course once, outside of if some information changes, you can always just add another video and keep it going. The second thing is the impact. Think of all the people that reach out when they hear you do real estate, or they hear that you do stock investing, or they hear you do anything outside of the norm, that say, will you mentor me? Will you teach me? Will you show me? That's just people that we know. And think about, for my mentor tells me this, for every one person that you help, there's 10,000 other people that you potentially impact. So if there's 10 people that you know personally that want information from you, or that you feel you could impact in your life, there's at least another 100,000 that's willing to do that. The main thing of why I believe courses are so good is because it allows you to share your knowledge. It allows you to give impact and transformational information to people to allow them to change their lives. And literally, it allows you to do something you're passionate about. Most of the stuff that we know, or at least some of the stuff that we know that we can monetize in a course, are things that we're passionate about. Maybe we're not passionate about going into the call center and taking calls every day, but we're passionate about taking our disposable income and putting it into index funds. Maybe we're not passionate about the engineering job that we have, but we're passionate about the real estate that we're able to purchase from the disposable income. So if I'm able to take what I'm passionate about, package that up, and teach that to people that have the same interest or passion, but not know where to start, and make money from it, now I can actually turn that passion into a full-time income that'll allow me to live a full-time passionate life instead of a part-time one. Because a lot of us, we've got 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours that we work in a job, and if you're in nursing, it's 12. So literally a third to half of your day is gone. So anything you're passionate about, you're only going to be able to give it part-time availability, because you still got to sleep, you still got to be a parent, a husband, a father, a mother, whatever those things are as well. But when you're able to take that passion and monetize it to where you can grow that into a full-time income, now you can build a full-time passionate life, which is what we all want to live. And literally, we're in a position where you could do that, and you don't have to exhaust your life savings like we used to have to do back in the day if you wanted to start a business to be able to do it.
Yeah, and I think what's so dope is that we're in the information age. One, two, courses, as far as from a customer, like presenting it to a course, it's not a foreign concept. Like people know that they could grow and learn through the internet. So it's not, you're not presenting something that's foreign to them. I think though a lot of people get hung up on, what can I teach? And I remember years and years and years ago listening to Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income. And he told the story that at that time he was an architect, and he created a website with materials to help people pass the architect exam, right? And so it's just something as simple as that. And I think a lot of people get stuck because things that are second nature to us are things that people are trying to learn. And so we're like, nobody wants to know that. So, I mean, how do you help people from the aspect of they hear your story? They're like, yeah, I should do that. I would love to help people. I would love to impact people. But what could I make a course on?
I get that so much, and I'm going to share a client that I think this would really help people. So I had a client that reached out to me, and and they had a great story, and it was about fatherhood and about re-entering their child's life, but also being a good co-parent and a stepfather that steps into a life of the children that their fathers weren't there, and how to build a blended family. So when we got on the conversation and we talked, we're just like, what can I build a course about? And I started asking them questions. What are you passionate? I'm passionate about fatherhood. I'm passionate about children. Passionate about bringing families together, broken homes, and making them whole homes, right? And so I said, that's your course. And he said, George, everybody knows that, like, people know, like, be involved in your kids, listen to them, spend time together. I was like, really? So I pulled up statistics, because I'm a statistics guy. If you can share statistics and make the numbers clear, that's how you're going to help people, right? That's how you're going to get people to see the big picture. I said, here's the number of children without a father in the home. Here's the number of blended families. Here's the number of kids that say that they were misused or miss whatever from step parents. And here's the number of people who didn't. And it was single digits. And I said, so there's a need for what you have. We just have to position it for it. So we did it. We built it out. He kept saying, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And his wife kept telling him, I keep telling him this is his calling. We released this course, this fatherhood training. He had his first cohort in, which he couldn't believe people even signed up for it. It got the attention of a board member of a major children's hospital that was nonprofit that served an underprivileged community. They brought him in, interviewed him and his wife, and they came up with the grant money to bring him on, to pay him a high contract salary to come in and teach expecting fathers how to prepare for fatherhood, how to stay a part of it, even if they were fathers that the person they're having the child with weren't there, how to make that blended situation work. And literally he's in the middle, I believe they're about to be or in the middle of their first cohort now, and he was able to retire from his job unexpectedly because it required more time, and it was about four times what he made from that. And that was just from fatherhood and just teaching on what he was passionate about. So there's a need for everything. We just have to understand that the things that are simplest to us are usually the best thing to teach because we're more comfortable with it and it's second nature. And usually what's the most simple to you is literally complicated for someone else.
So what do you tell people who have a bunch of ideas? Like they just full of ideas, right? They like, man, I could talk about something that I'm passionate about, like a hobby or something like that, but I can also talk about something from my occupation that I specialize in, that I figured out and mastered. So if there's somebody who's struggling with multiple ideas, what are you going to tell them?
So this is what I did with a couple of clients, and I did this with myself, and I call it the ranking system. What you're going to do is write down all of the things that you're passionate about. Write them down into a list, and you're going to number them from 1 to 2. 1 being you're most passionate about, you're most knowledgeable about, and you can talk about it without being prompted for preparation to speak on it. So someone said, hey, I wrote down credit repair, I wrote down IT, I wrote down stock investing, and I wrote down creating digital products. Okay, number them from 1 to 2. 1 being I'm passionate about this. I enjoy talking about it, and if I only had 15 minutes to talk in front of 100 people and give them just a 30-minute talk on this topic, I could do it without being, like without a lot of preparation. Number those from 1 to 2. Whatever is the 2, you move on the side because you'll always come back to them, and you take the ones and you got the ones now and you do it again. Which is the one you're most passionate about? Which ones, just keep numbering until you get to the last one, and you make a big circle around it. And then you just decide, okay, what is the pain point that people have with this? So IT, they don't know where to start with technology. Let's say IT was my number one thing. They don't know where to start with technology. What's the biggest pain point? Okay, now that we got the pain point, what would be the ideal outcome? Learning how to get into IT and secure a job and the skills needed to perform it. Okay. What are the things that they'll need? They need to learn the basics of operating systems, the basic of this, the basic of that. Most importantly, of those things that they need, what all can you teach? And from 1 to 10, how confident that you can teach it? As long as everything's a 7 or higher, that's what you need to go with. Because you know what their outcome is, you know what their pain point is, and you know what they need to do in order to alleviate that pain. Then you start building it out, building out your brand, sharing statistics, all those things on social media while you're building out the course. And then you get ready to drop it once you got people warm and hot and you got them in a state to where they're like, I can do that if someone gave me step by step on what I need to do. And then it's time to move forward with it. Then as you build your brand and that's the thing you want and it's doing good, now you can go back to your list, do the same thing what was on your list, and what is your next number one? Because that's exactly what I did. And then you implement that, introduce it to your audience, build a sub audience for that, and you just rinse and repeat that whole process.
Now, you were building some of your courses while being employed elsewhere, while having a family. How did that look? Some people that's their situation. They have their 9 to 5, they have family responsibilities, maybe they have church responsibilities, and now they want to do this, but trying to figure out how do I make this work in my current life. So, what did, like, from a time management point, when were you building this, strategizing, doing the research on your content, filming your content while doing all these other things?
So before we had my son, I would do it in the evenings. That was the best time I would do it. So I would do it late in the evenings. Usually after 8, we would have dinner, we would have our time. My wife could go watch her reality shows, and I could go and record my episodes and all that other kind of stuff. Then when we had my son, I had to be more strategic because we had been trying to have a child for 8 years and we were told we couldn't have kids. So having that family and getting that miracle child was very important to me. So what I did was I'd wake up an hour early every day. So I knew if I had to be to work by 7, I needed to be up by at least 6:15 to get ready and get out the door to get 10 minutes down the road. So now I'm getting up at like 5 something, right? But what I'd also do is I didn't live far from home. So my hour lunch breaks, 10 minutes to the house, record a couple of modules from what I wrote down earlier, and then back to the job. You know what I'm saying? I might get 2 or 3 modules knocked out on my lunch break, and then I'm back there. And then on my 15-minute breaks, I'm going out to my car. My first 15-minute breaks, I'm outlining what else I can cover and do, or some videos on for that particular course. And then my second 15-minute break, I'm going live talking to people on Periscope, building my brand. I did that for 2.5 years while I was working a 9 to 5. People were like, George, you want to come to lunch with us? Man, as soon as his shift is over, he leaves. He don't even say nothing to us. Like, people were saying that. And it's like, I took the early shift because I got off at 2:30. So I was able to get home and knock a few things out before my wife got home, before my son got home at 4:30. So I had a good 2-hour window to knock out what I chicken scratched on my first break that I could cover in there. And that's how I built my business and my brand. And if I had plenty of time left over, I'll jump on live again around 4:15. And then when I heard the garage go up, because it's on the other side of the wall, I knew it was time to wrap that live up and it's time to be a family man. So you just got to be very strategic with how you're doing it. And you just got to be mindful of what time areas do you have that you could do it. And it takes commitment. Sometimes you don't want to have a cold cut and some chips. You want to go out with your friends and have Chinese or Mexican, right? Sometimes you don't want to wake up an hour early, especially in the winter. It's nice and warm under the covers. It's cold when you get out and groggy. But when you want what I've been able to do in my life really bad, you do it, because those 6 to 12 to 18 months can literally cut short 20 to 30 to 40 years in the workforce if you're able to be committed to just 1 year of dedication of time, energy, and effort. And it'll literally change your whole life.
Super dope. Now, there is no one answer because I know it depends and varies, but for a person who's like, I'm going to do this, what is a realistic, based on the thousands of people that you've helped do this, how long does it take somebody to complete a course?
You can usually complete a course in about 30 days, a really good one. It's all about putting out the proper outline. Once you got your outline together, going out and finding what questions or what things are out there, like on Quora.com. If I'm teaching a course on real estate rentals, I'm going to go type in rentals on Quora and I'm going to look at what questions people have. And what I want to make sure is the questions that people are asking on Quora or answer to the public, that my course is going to answer a lot or the majority of those questions in my modules and in my lessons, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to create an impactful course. You don't want to create something that's just information. People find information on YouTube all day long and Google. We want to provide strategies. We want to provide hangups. We want to provide things to overlook. Here are 3 banks that you can use. We want to give them specific things that people hide or don't even put out because they don't want people to know. That's why people pay for courses. They're not paying for information. They're paying for strategy, implementation process, and potentially outcome and result. And so I believe people can do that in a 30-day period. And literally they can be in a position to where they're ready to launch within 6 to 8 weeks.
If I want to do a course, is video my only option, or is it the best option, or can it be some other format? What if I'm scared of the camera? What you gonna tell me, George?
So here's what I'm going to tell you. There's 4 type of learners out there. There's auditory learners, which learn by listening. There's reading and writing learners that learn by viewing. There are visual learners that learn by seeing visuals and images that are broken down. And there's kinesthetic learners that learn by doing it and being hands-on. My first 2.5 years of doing courses, I hit all those learners without ever coming on the camera. I have a presentation on the screen that usually has a visual when necessary that I break down, and words that highlight and summarize what my talking points need to be for my reading and writing learners. And they're hearing my voice, which is hitting my auditory learners. And my recap and homework slide helps my kinesthetic learners. And I never got on front of the camera at all. As long as they can hear your voice, there's a visual, and the information is you know information is impactful, and most importantly, it gives them the strategy and the walkthrough. They don't care. They want the information and the outcome, and you've hit all four learners. Whenever I actually decide to get on camera, it was when I wanted to drive a point home. I would stop the share and I would maybe come on the screen, or I'd have my screen in the top corner. If you're afraid to be on the screen, I know people that still to this day do the same method I just told you and never get on the screen once. People care more about the information that you provide than the eyelashes and the grooming and all that. They just want the information. As long as they can hear your voice, they can see your strategies, and they can implement what you say, they're going to be super excited and happy because the result is what they came for, not what you look like.
I know another hang up that's going to get people stuck is this. They're going to go look you up on Instagram. They're going to see you killing it on Instagram. They're like, I don't have no following like that. No wonder he can sell courses. He got this great following. So if it's somebody who doesn't have this public persona, doesn't have this massive online presence, are they disqualified from being able to make this work for them?
Absolutely not. You want to, we all started with the same amount of followers, zero. The main thing is you want to provide value. A lot of mistakes that course creators make is they want to create a course and then they want to promote it to friends and family and people who follow them from their job. And that's the wrong thing to do. That's why I said you could create a course in 30 days, but you'll be 6 to 8 weeks from a launch. So what you do is while you're creating that course, like I said I did, I was writing out my course, recording modules, and I was going live. So I'm building my audience while I'm doing all this so that I can get them warm, give them good nuggets and good value. So when I did drop my course, they were already warm and hot for it. Some of them were asking before I even promoted it. So the main thing is that you just want to grow your audience. You don't need a lot of people. If you have 500 people, just to put this into perspective, if you have 500 followers and you're able to convert 10% of them, that's 50 people. If your course is, let's just say 197, which is a low ticket, that's $10,000 off of a following of less than 1,000. So for every 500 people that you can grow your following to, which you can grow 500 in a month, probably even more than that now with Reels, TikToks, and so many other things. If you're able to convert just 10% of your audience, you can literally make thousands of dollars without having such a large following. The biggest focus is to provide value, keep your head down and not compare yourself to someone else's year 5 and year 6. I'm in year 6 of this. So please don't compare yourself to me. Compare yourself to your day 1 and focus on day 2, day 3, and day 4. Because here's the thing, looking at me and saying, oh, he's got thousands of followers, I'm out. And a year goes by and you hear this episode again, or you go and rewatch this, you see it on YouTube, and you're like, man, I should really do this. Think of that whole year that you let go by because you let a number with a K next to it, drive you away from actually just saying, let me start with day 1. And literally by day 365, I could have that K next to my name, whether it's 10, 20, or whatever it is. But I also have a track record of consistent conversions. I've grew my audience, I've made sales, and you've literally built your business to where now you can look at scaling. And then that changes the whole game of your whole entire business.
Man, I love it. Now you got a course called Courses to Profits. You can find it at hisandhermoney.com/courses to profits, where you kind of take the mystery out of all of this process. You walk us from start to finish to how to create the course, how to promote the course. So kind of break down once people go to hisandhermoney.com/courses to profits and sign up for your course, what will they gain once they enter in?
So this course, whenever I call it course to profits, is because I want people to be able to create a course and generate profits. So a lot of times people learn what they can do with something. They learn how to create a course. They learn how to become a coach. They learn how to do this, but rarely do they learn how to market and sell that. So at Course to Profits, what we do is we teach you the first part in the course, which is creating your course, identifying your course topic, how to validate it to see if it's something that the market wants, how to go in and see what people are asking about that topic so you can build content around it. And most importantly, how to price it, how to organize it, how to record it, all the things you need to do to create the course. Once that course is done, it actually comes with a second course called the digital marketing accelerator that teaches you how to build your following, how to create a content schedule, how to find out what content people need that's going to allow them to engage with your stuff, how to build your following without Facebook ads or YouTube ads, and really build out your brand and your business and get them in a place to where they're ready for what you're eventually going to drop. And then what we teach you next is once you actually sell courses during that method, and we show you how to launch it from there. We have we have a training out there called Webinar to Profits that's included, which helps you scale. So I sold courses for 2.5 years the way that we just talked, with creating a course and then doing my digital marketing accelerator. And then when I scaled and was able to really take this thing to the next level and retirement became a reality, like really close to a reality, is when I started doing webinars. So we go over the webinar methodology, how to build out your webinar lesson plan, how to implement it, how to structure your slides, all those things, even with the template. And then most importantly, how to go through practice runs to eventually market and sell to a much bigger audience much faster using our influencer marketing method. And then we have a bonus training with email marketing that shows you how to create your first email campaign. I have my email marketer actually write a 5-day sequence and break down what needs to be in each day and how you can plug in your stuff so that you could build your list. So the people that may not buy at your webinar, that may not buy in your digital marketing accelerator, you're still nurturing those people and eventually getting them back to where you make another offer again and they may purchase that second or third time after that. So we teach them a whole entire method to set up, and we teach you in order so that you literally have a whole entire ecosystem from start to finish to make profits after profits after profits.
Mm. Good stuff. Good stuff. We have it linked in the show notes of this episode. If you're listening to the podcast, if you're watching us on YouTube, look right underneath the video in the description box and you'll see a link there. Now, you said earlier, but we can go to YouTube and just, you can find information on YouTube. Why should we do the course that you've provided versus just trying to piecemeal it together via Dr. Google?
The great thing about social media is that you can get a ton of information. The bad thing about social media is that you can get a ton of information. So what happens is everyone has a different way of how they do stuff. So you might watch this video, here's how to create a course. Come up with your topic, come up with this and come up with that. Now here's how to price your course, and they tell you how to price it one way. Then you watch another video, they tell you another way. And what happens is now people are getting all this information and they're confused and they don't do anything or they do the wrong thing. The biggest difference between Google and YouTube versus an actual course is a course provides structure and it provides organization. YouTube, when you type in how to create a course, you're going to get about 300,000 videos from all these different course creators telling you how they created a course, right? And it's only going to teach you the what and the why, because the majority of people on YouTube now, they actually have courses now too. So you're going to get the what and the why, but you're still going to be struggling with the how. So the thing is that YouTube just provides longer form content for what we provide in 1 minute reels. It just breaks down the what and the why a little bit longer, but then it just provides more confusion. YouTube and Google is really good for people that know specifically what they're looking for. So if I'm looking specifically for content on building a sales funnel, I know what I'm looking for. I know what outcome I want. I know all these things. So YouTube might be effective for someone like myself. If I don't know where to start, I'm just like, what is a funnel? Funnel, how to make money from a funnel. I'm going to hear about email funnels. I'm going to hear about sales funnels. I'm going to hear about membership funnels. I'm going to hear about lead funnels. And because that's so much information, I really don't know what I need or what part of my process it needs to go in. I'm going to either get overloaded with information and feel intimidated to not pursue it, or I'm going to try to incorporate all this information and literally get no result because I put it in the wrong way. So structure is way more important than information, because we all have information, but you need structure to implement it.
Man, good stuff. Now, this journey started with you getting the okey doke and getting fired. Tell us where we're at today. We heard how it started. You know that meme that goes on the internet, how it started, how it's going. So, as a result of you going on this journey that you're encouraging us to go on, what does life look like now?
So, December 16th, 2016, I started my journey with learning about internet marketing, learning about the online space after getting fired 10 days before Christmas and my first anniversary. And here we are 6 years later. This is 2022. I'm retired from corporate. I have a full-time income now. I have a very successful online academy, a coaching business as a result of that, and a staff of 10 people, including my agency, where we actually build people's courses and funnels out for them from their content. So we've literally been able to turn this started with a course on eBay, and now we've got courses on investing, on e-commerce, on building your own course, building your own strategies. But we also have an agency now where we build those out and provide a done for you service and a one-on-one mentorship for people that want to work with me to literally set up a custom strategy and course set up for them. And we've done that for several people, and I literally love what I do. We also own a cleaning business, which has been very successful as well, that we just started earlier this year. And so we are just moving right along. My wife is graduating next month, and my son goes to one of the top schools in the country. We're actually moving out of state so he can attend one of the top schools in the country, and he's in elementary school. But this was all a result of what I was able to do as a result of getting fired back in 2016. So that's where it started. That's where we are now.
Woo, that's some good stuff. I like how that journey turned out. Now, some people are inspired, but as soon as this video ends, the devil gonna start talking to them like, "You can't do it. You don't have what it takes. Who's gonna listen to you?" As we get ready to close out, what do you want to tell them in advance when they hear that lie from their enemy?
So I'm going to give you some statistics. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in the United States, there's 332,900,000 plus U.S. citizens. Out of 332 million, only 9.6% are actually registered entrepreneurs, which is just a little bit under 33 million. So with that, in the e-learning industry, there are over 117,000 courses that were created in 2021, but there was over 22 million students that enrolled. So to break it down, there, even with 100,000 courses that are out there, there was still only 22 million people that were served out of 300 plus million just in the US. And there was over $1 billion that was generated just on Teachable, and just under $1 billion on Thinkific, and I think it was $1.5 billion on Kajabi. What those numbers should tell you is that there's still a huge need. We need more people teaching on what we have, because here's the thing: there's lots of people that might teach on credit, but they may not teach it the way that you do. Maybe people don't like them because they're very flashy. People use lifestyle marketing to do stuff. Maybe they don't like it because they're very direct and in your face. They don't like how people talk to them. Maybe they don't like the fact that this is a man teaching this. They prefer a female, or vice versa. So what you got to understand is that there's several different demographics that want to be served a certain way. And I believe that everyone has someone that's called to their voice. If you're not speaking up and providing something for people that are called to your voice, you're now delaying their blessing, because God assigned this group of people to your voice. If Moses wasn't the one that spoke up when he did, many of the people would have never left Egypt, because they were assigned to his voice. So we have to understand that our voice is very powerful. Our gifts will make room for us, but we got to be able to activate both of those in order for it to happen. If opposition is coming against you, that's usually them telling you we're trying to keep you from something. Because literally, if you're not out here that's going to do something that's going to impact people, the enemy isn't worried about you. But if there's something that you're going to do that's going to change people's life and allow them to get to a place that they've been praying for, he's going to come after you and tell you everything you need to hear to make you feel like you're not supposed to do what God has actually ordained you to do. So as long as you give a yes, you will actually get what's on the other side. That I can tell you right now, it's something you never even imagined. Because I never imagined being in this place where I am, and I'm super excited in my 30s being able to do this.
Man, that is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Now tell everybody where they can find you on these social media platforms, because I know they finna come check you out.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at Mr. Monetize Everything. I'm very active on Instagram. You can also find me on TikTok under the same title, Mr. Monetize Everything. And I also do Clubhouse, which is just George Pitts. So those are the three platforms that you can find me at. Definitely shoot me a DM. Tell me that you checked in, that you listened to me on the His or Her Money Show, so I can give you a shout out on my stories as well.
Awesome, George. Can't say thank you enough for sharing your story and your wisdom with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You have the knowledge now to change your life. You could make a course. Yes, you have what it takes to make a course. And if you don't know where to get started, I highly suggest that you go and pick up George's course, Courses to Profits. It's at hisandhermoney.com/courses to profits. It's linked up in the show notes or right underneath this video in the description box. Take action. I mean, what do you have to lose compared to what you have to gain? Remember, one income stream is too close to none. You heard what happened to George. It could happen to any of us. We don't want you caught off guard. Remember, the goal here at His and Her Money is to help you take dominion. And remember that dominion has to be taken. So do what you got to do to take it. And let's change our lives, just like George was able to change his. That's all we got for this time, guys. It's been great. Until next time, peace.